Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world.
I've been looking around for salvation. I've been looking around for the truth. All around me I see frustration, and I looked all over till I found you. I sit and listen to your stories, and you're telling me, please don't worry. There's a lot in this world you should know, and love in life is where you should go. If you're looking for somewhere to go, if you're looking for someone to know, if you're looking for someone to guide you, then love in life will guide you.
Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And before we get on to our guest, I just want to say hello to the Loving Life family. Lovely to have you here with us tonight. And let's pray for Fee and hold her in our thoughts tomorrow. Fee is going to hospital by ambulance first thing tomorrow for an emergency blood transfusion. You will be in our thoughts, Fee. Alright, tonight our guest is Gerhard van Jaarsveld, who's written a 155-page book titled Waaksaam, or Alert South Africa. The book is available in both English and Afrikaans and gives common sense advice about staying safe in a country where crime is the biggest industry. Here are some of the facts we'll be talking about. Did you know, for example, that 77% of the perpetrators stated that they chose targets for which they had some inside information? For example, they would be able to get information from a particular house from domestic workers, gardeners, or other service providers, including security guards, or from relatives or acquaintances of these people. Did you also know that only 25% of the perpetrators in the research stated that they deliberately choose a house because it had a low security? Rather, targets were chosen because they had reasonable information or suspicion that there would be much of value to steal once they had gained access to the property. All perpetrators stated that they used violence or the threat of violence when entering a residence to overcome resistance from the victims. Alright, let me get our guest on. I'm going to get Gerhard van Jaarsveld on, and we will be talking about his book, which is all about this particular subject, and we will be getting some common sense advice from Gerhard. Now, before I bring him on, if you've got questions for Gerhard, please put them in the side chat, and I will put those to Gerhard a bit later. Please remember to subscribe to this video, or to subscribe to this channel to be kept informed, and I hope you enjoy the discussion. Here we go. Hi, Gerhard.
Hi, Scott. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. Excellent. Okay, now let's get right into this. You're bringing out a book, and it's in English and in Afrikaans, so you can buy the English or the Afrikaans version. and it's called Waaksaam in Afrikaans, or Alert South Africa. Just give me a very broad overview as to what the book is all about before we go into some specifics.
Well, Scott, the book is about basic security and practical safety. It's quite. It's got quite a lot of subjects in. Crime South Africa is the first one. Crime prevention, home safety, and farm safety. Weapons and law is also always important. Hijacking, safety of children, self-defense, law aspects, identification, first aid that you also might need when getting attacked, emergency numbers, radio lingo for radio communication. And then I've got a piece of Professor Rudolf Zinn,
Right.
that did intensive studies on crime and crime attacks in South Africa. And then also Pink Ladies that works with missing persons. Then just service providers, where I got all my info from, and then the annex. So that's more or less what the book consists of, Scott.
Right. Now, the big message that I got from going through your book is that prevention is better than cure. In other words, you have got to stop criminals being able to attack you in the first place. Tell us about the importance of that.
Scott, that's very true. We're sitting in a situation today in South Africa where you can't rely on the police at all. And then also people must remember that all your security measures, your police force and your security companies and everything, they operate reactive. That means they come onto the scene when the has already been committed, and that leaves you in quite a bad situation. That means your first line defense is yourself, and you must be able to protect yourself and be able to buy time until these people can come to assist you.
Right. Now, I think the most clearly the most disturbing thing is that most of these criminals aren't just picking a house off the street. They actually do a lot of research, and they do a lot of they've got inside information. Tell us, what are your facts on that when it comes to, let's look at farms, residential houses independently? I mean, how much do they depend on the domestic servant to say, okay, yeah, they've got a safe in the bedroom, or they've got this, or they've got that, or they've got the other? How important is that to these gangs?
Well, Scott, obviously a lot. These people's intel is of a very high quality. They don't actually do any attack before they haven't gathered all the information that they need. So the intel comes from various sources, and a lot of them come from your domestic workers and your garden people that works for you. Even the people across the street, or people that's got eye contact with you. These people, the criminals don't normally act or start operating or start criminalizing without getting the proper information beforehand. Obviously, they need to know what's inside, what the value of the commodities they can gather, because there must be some benefit for them in that. And the intel are being done quite intensively before they start moving in or criminalizing you.
All right. So what you're saying is that they know exactly where the rooms in the house are. They know where the safe is. They know if there's jewelry sitting on the bedside table. They know all this stuff because it might be a domestic worker. It might be an African electrician who's come through there and put in something in your house. They actually pass that information back to these criminal gangs. Or in the case of a domestic, don't they often intimidate them, like threaten their children and stuff like that, unless they provide information? And of course, then they're too scared to tell the people they're working for that this has happened.
Scott, yeah, obviously that also happens. By the time they hit you, they need all the information. Obviously, these people don't eat anything that's not of value. And then with the intimidation, they always try to get as much information as possible. We even got domestic workers and confiscated their funds, where all the rooms and valuables were being photoshot. And these things sent through to the syndicates or to the hit squads. There must be some value to pay the people that does the crime, as well as the informants that usually work on these things. Obviously, your house or your premises gets surveilled for certain hours of certain weeks or for periods, so that these people can gather as much information as possible, like your movement, your security, your dogs, and then obviously the intel inside that mostly comes from the domestic workers. What they do is they intimidate these people, and in severe cases they threaten them. If they don't give the information, then their lives are obviously threatened, or their children, or whatever the case may be. It can get quite extensive, in the sense if they don't work with, it could lead to death or rape or whatever the case may be.
Right. Now, we talked about preventing an attack is the best line of defense. What you've got to do is put in measures that actually stop people targeting your house and then robbing you and your family and putting them all through the trauma. Now, what are the best preventative measures? Like, for example, I see in your book you say small dogs are a very, very powerful deterrent to criminals. What are the most important things to have in your house?
Well, Scott, when you think about safety, you must really think about it in the army sense of way. I'm going to explain to you what I'm meaning now. In the army, we had certain groups and certain infantries and some certain battalions and stuff that operated in certain areas. So we've got the infantry, we've got the artillery, we've got the parabats, we've got that, and you must think about safety in your own situation in the same way. So obviously there's layers. In the first sense, as we're looking about your fence, we're looking at your gates, then we're looking at your dogs outside, then we're looking at your lights, then we're looking at your alarm system, then we're looking at what wakes you up. It has to be in lines. What's crazy for me is that we seldom get this thing about people giving out this message. When I woke up, he was standing next to me with a gun against my head when he was lying in bed.
Yeah.
Now, what always fascinated me about this, how do you get it right for a person to infiltrate all these lines of your defense system so that you don't have any idea what's happening before this guy is standing with a gun against your head? Yeah.
But
I think in short, that's how you must look at your defense system. Then,
right.
yeah.
But you cover that in the book, don't you?
Obviously, everything is in detail
Right.
stipulated in my book. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm just going to address the side chat for a moment. We got well over 150 people watching right now. Guys, if you're interested in getting Gerhard's book, I've got a link in the description below this video to a Facebook page where you can actually get the information and actually place the order for the book. Now, Gerhard, how much is the book?
Scott, at this stage, we're selling the book just for you at a special for 175 Rand. Yeah, I've got the books on 2 international sites. They sell there around at 330 Rand a book.
Wow.
But
so that's half
for
price.
you, say again.
That's half price by buying it through your Facebook page.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, just a little bit more, but not really. Yeah.
Okay, good to know that. Now, isn't one of the most important factors in protecting yourself not having a routine? In other words, not leaving the house every day at 8 a.m., not arriving home at 5 p.m., every day going to the coffee shop, those sort of things, because that then gives them a time where they can actually basically ambush you. Am I correct in suggesting that having a set routine in your life is the worst possible thing to do?
Scott, yeah, obviously, you must remember these people has got surveillance on you, and they do it for a long period of time. So as soon as you fall into a system, you're actually shooting yourself in the foot. So it's good to vary your routine as much as possible, and also vary your routes. Going and coming back from the house, whatever the case may be. We had incidents where people has been followed back from the bank, has been followed back from the when they went to buy food, when they gone to draw cash, whatever the case may be.
Right.
So it's important for people to really get self-aware and get aware what's going on around you. These people work in groups, they work in syndicates. They know exactly what's going on. They follow you. They know what you're doing, whatever the case may be. So a routine is not a good thing at this stage. Normally, most of these attacks are planned around routines. Yes.
Right. Okay. Well, you just mentioned syndicates and groups. Now, this is an area that I found very disturbing in your book, and there are 2 areas I'd like you to talk about. One is how all the major African political parties like the ANC, the EFF, the BLF, the PAC, etc., have a military arm, and they are very involved in crime in South Africa. And I'm talking about even the ANC's military arm. And then we look at the involvement of the police. Even the police are involved with gangs and stuff like that. Can you tell us how this all works? I mean, just so people get an idea of what they've got to be careful of.
Yeah, Scott, this is quite a big discussion. You must realize one thing, is that everyone's involved, from the top political to the lowest man on the ground. Crime is so integrated today that you can't really believe it. At the end of the day, this is all about financial gain. And, what they also do is they use this money to to support the military training, etc., etc. In quick, the big hits like the cash and transits and the bank robbery, the big. That's not going to your domestic work or to the lady that works in your house. You know, these people has got a plan, and obviously this money gets routed to a certain area throughout the whole system. When we get back to the political parties with their military wings, the ANC has got the ANC Youth League, the Ikonto with Sizwe and MK. That is their wings. SICP also Ikonto, Sizwe and MK. Then the IFP, Zanile, Kwamagwaza, Nsimbi, NFP. EFF has got Jijiski. The PIC is Zanian War Warriors. And that forms part of the Zanian People's Liberation Army. And then also the latest one we've got is the BLF Bombata.
Yeah,
and
right.
What's crazy about this thing is these people get trained. They get trained at places out of South Africa. Say again.
Who trains them?
Scott, this is a discussion we can have for a long time. But obviously, in whole, there's two parties that stands big in this thing, and that's the PAN. That's a Pan-African Nationalists.
Right.
That's quite big. It's the strongest party in Africa. Anyway, and they are military very strong, and then obviously the SICP, you know, and we know the SIC, the Communist Party, has been behind all these things all these years. So that's the people that trains them, and then obviously these people with the military wings have to generate money, you know, to train their own people. And that's what they do through crime. We've got people that's been trained in Lesotho. We've got people that's been trained in Soshanguve. We've got people that's been trained in Zimbabwe. We've got people that's been over to Soviet Union. So military training is not a new thing. And obviously these people work to that at their advantage. You know, we've got the PIC, I think there's about I'm talking under correction now, 3,000 or 6,000 people, military trained soldiers that's sitting in Lesotho at this stage. And, you know, for these people to work, they don't do that for free. And you know, somehow we link that and their operations with the farmer tax. If you look at the farmer tax, you will see most of these things are done with military precision, etc., etc.
Well, especially the cash and transit.
Yeah, the same thing. Obviously, these people get used in a lot of crime, more the bigger hits type of schemes in South Africa, but obviously they are used.
Okay, so we've determined that the political parties are basically involved in the criminal industry in South Africa. In other words, the ANC, the EFF, they've got their military arms who are involved in basically training people in crime, gangs. And when we look at a farm attack where you've got 4 thugs who go in and they ambush a family in a farmhouse and they torture them for hours and then they leave without taking anything, is that just a clear form of intimidation to get the farmer the hell off the land so that, you know, some ANC cadre can come in and take it?
Scott, yeah, obviously, it is my belief. We're talking about the torture and the extensity, the extensively of the cruelty of farm attacks, and obviously there's a reason for that. It's in the first place to discourage the people and the community in the area, and and the second place just to intimidate the whole world. What's funny about these things is you must understand that these farm attacks and stuff gets orchestrated, and the people that do the hits at the end of the day, before that, has been or has seen the witch doctors. They've been under drugs, etc., etc. What's funny? I can't see myself in somebody committing crimes or the intensity of crimes like that without being under the influence or something. And at the end of the day, that's what I believe. But obviously, these things are well planned. They plan areas. They hit certain farms. They prey on the vulnerable.
Right.
You will see
the
most of the time the old farmers and the old farmers and the ladies. We had a farm attack last night where a guy in Potchefstroom, old guy, 74-year-old guy, was taken out as well. And they shot him twice through the neck, and then they strangled him with ties. So the intensity of this is clearly out there to send a message.
Right. Well, just now we talked about each political party having its military wing. It's interesting because about a week ago, an audio tape or two audio tapes came out, and in that audio tape, which could well be a hoax, and I think it is a hoax, but these two Africans talking in Zulu said that the EFF are going to take me out, Scott Bolson. They're going to take out the guy from Loving Life. And they actually say this guy's in Australia. We got people over there. We can sort it out. But this is the sort of tactics that they use, isn't it, to try and intimidate people?
Well, Scott, obviously, these people's, especially the EFF. I think you must understand this thing correct. In the beginning of everything, the EFF was more or less not blame. I can't say the word blame, but they were more or less the people that we thought, and I think we were correct, that's responsible for the farmers. But within their structures, you must just remember one thing: all of these things are integrated and linked. Between the PIC, the EFF, the ANC, all political parties are actually interlinked somehow or another. And what happened with the EFF is they decided to regroup, if that's a correct word, or restructure the whole system. And Julius Malema went out to be the
mafia boss,
revolutionary mouth.
Yeah,
if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then also, if you see, is the BLF went undercover.
Andili Lixitama.
Yeah, they went undercover. You don't really hear anything from him, from these people anymore. But it's our not our thoughts. It's from intelligence. The BLF today is directly after the farm murders. So Julius Lemo became the voice, and the BLF is doing the work.
Wow. Okay. Well, clearly the BLF are a huge problem. Now, these criminal gangs, according to your book, they infiltrate all segments of society, organizations, workplaces, etc., where information can be obtained. Tell us about that. What sort of organizations do they infiltrate?
No, well, obviously you must know, and we can all see it. The criminal mind is everywhere. From the political structure, right through the police, right through all businesses, right through all corporations, right through everything. So, in short, that's basically what it means: is that we're safe. These people they operate. Yeah. And then obviously, when you look at cash in transit, when you look at business robberies, when you look at at all types of crimes, you must get the picture that these people are all interlinked. So crime is a big business in South Africa.
It's the biggest business,
and we must not we must never forget that.
Now, there's just one thing I want to bring to your, just suggest, and probably one of the worst things you can do in South Africa today, if you've got a lot of jewelry, is to get an insurance policy where you've got your name, your street address, you've got all your details on that insurance policy, and in there you say, yeah, I've got all this jewelry. I've got a solid gold necklace which is worth $10,000 or 100,000 rand. And then the person who's actually getting that information, they can feed it on to their mates who are in these gangs. Am I correct in suggesting that?
Well, Scott, you're 100% correct. You must realize one thing is 93% of all crimes are inside jobs.
Right.
So obviously information gets shared, and then obviously they must get it somewhere. If you look at cash and transits, and if you look at even house robberies, any robbery, jewelry stores, whatever the case may be, there is always inside info that made it possible for his criminals to hit at certain times, or to know exactly what's going on, to know exactly what stock there is, to know exactly what benefit there is for them. So, as I say, these people's intel are incredible.
Right. Now, one of the things I noticed in your book is you talked about it's like a career. Crime is a career that's handed down from father to son. And there's a lot of training that goes into this. And one of the main factors of people who turn to crime is obviously those who are unemployed, they're starving, they've just got nowhere to go, so they just get involved in crime. But they're more like the petty criminals, aren't they? The real career criminals are the ones who are in the gangs, who are organized, they've got this whole infrastructure behind them.
Scott, you must realize one thing is crime must start somewhere.
Yeah.
And we've got communities at this stage, and that was exactly why I made that statement. That only relies on crime. So if you're a father that's a criminal, what are you going to teach your children? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's how these children get introduced into the market, if I can explain it like that.
Right.
So they get taught from a young age exactly to do what the fathers did. And then at first it might be petty theft, but as they training progressed, if I can say it like that, obviously they get involved in more and more activities. You must understand one other thing is we are sitting here in really a poverty-stricken situation which means, if you go to home at night and you didn't make money to feed your family, obviously you will be more acceptable for crime. And at the end of the day, it just gets an easy way of living. And obviously, the whole not the whole community or the family structure gets formed into that same direction.
Right. Now, there was a very interesting, or actually no, not interesting, disturbing video footage that I put up just yesterday with a bit more meat to it. And what was happening was this guy literally jumped a low rail and tried to grab this girl who was with her I think her mother and her another daughter. And if it hadn't been for a guy who was actually a martial arts expert who was right near where this happened, he actually apprehended the guy and took him to the ground. And there are other videos after this guy had been taken to the ground where he says, oh no, he was doing this for a Nigerian group. He's a kidnapper, he's a professional kidnapper. And he refers to this Nigerian group that, he's going to deliver the child to. Now, this is part of the whole hierarchy of crime, isn't it? As you said, you've got specialists who are pickpockets, burglars, hijackers, weapon smugglers, rhino horn, bank robbers, CIT, weapon smuggling, cell phones, anything, you name it. You've got criminals who specialize in a particular area.
Well, Scott, obviously I saw that clip. That was very disturbing. But lately there's been a lot of news going around in South Africa about child kidnapping. There has been a couple of incidents, that they tried to link somewhere. It's not really significant, because child kidnapping and has always been here. Except that these things lately got exposed, and I think that's what got everyone a bit rounded up. Right. And that's actually a good thing. That's actually a good thing because that makes people think, and that makes people see, and that makes people believe. It's always good to be prepared.
Yeah. Now, I guess the worst part of having your home invaded is that you just feel like your whole life has just come apart, and especially for kids, because if you're criminally assaulted, the psychological trauma is even worse, especially for young children, than the physical attack you experience, because they're going to have to live with that for the rest of their lives, aren't they?
Scott, that's a sad part. That's a sad part about this whole thing. We've been fighting, and we've been trying to make people aware of a lot of things, and I've been doing that for over 7 years. And somehow people simply don't want to listen, until something happens to them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the trauma and the after effects are much more enormous than anything you can think of. It ruins lives. What's funny, Scott, is most of these attacks and stuff that happens could have been prevented.
Right.
But what's funny in my line of work is that people never listen, and they don't listen. They don't want to hear it before something happens to them, or something happens to somebody close to them. And that's an unfortunate thing. We try to encourage people to operate proactively, But unfortunately, this comfort zone effect are just overwhelming.
Right. Well, you talk about the role of the media and crime as a benefit for the government. Now, let's just talk about the media first. Clearly, the media don't cover the crime in South Africa enough, and they don't give advice enough. There's a lot of people are in the dark as to how they can defend themselves, and this is where your book becomes very important. Tell us what you think, or how the media are handling this crisis of crime in South Africa.
Well, Scott, at this stage, they're not really handling anything. They're just ignoring it. You know what's funny is we tend to think about white crimes or farm attacks, or especially attacks on whites that don't get mentioned. But
Right.
in the black community, these things are 3 times more worse. You never see anything about it, and obviously the government's got a reason for that. They don't want to portray themselves in a bad light. They are don't want to portray themselves in a bad light for the overseas, and then obviously they are withholding information for the people inside. So they basically manipulating the whole media system to put them into a good light. You can't really rely on the government at this stage.
Oh no, it's a gangster state.
We know the government's corrupt. We know the police force is corrupt. We know everything is corrupt. So government-wise, we also know that we're not going to get any support. And I don't know whether you've seen this clip of Becky Cele on the farms now.
Yes, I have.
But obviously, we can clearly see what the attitude is there. And, for people relying on the government, and I've often seen that, a person say, yeah, but I'm paying taxes, and the police are there to protect us, and et cetera, blah, blah, blah. You know the whole story. People must start to realize that they're living in a dream world. That's not going to happen. Obviously, this ANC government has got other plans and another agenda, and that does not include you.
Yeah, well, they really don't care, do they? As long as they're doing nicely for themselves.
Not all. No.
You just have to look at Cyril Ramaphosa. He never ever mentions the farm murders. He keeps now talking about gender-based violence and stuff like that, but he totally ignores the elephant in the room, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, obviously, but Scott, that's part of the ANC plan, and you must understand. And Ramaphosa also made a statement, that he's not going to ruin the ANC ideal. I think he did it a week ago, whatever the case may be. I don't know whether you can remember that. But obviously, he's so integrated in this whole thing that you can't really rely on anything. The other thing is, Ramaphosa at the end of the day is just a what do you call
mouthpiece.
it? Yeah, he's just a mouthpiece, man. He hasn't really got so much power that anyone thinks. And the same thing happened in our times. There was no state president that was announced without the approval of the Broederbond, if I can say it like that.
Right.
And exactly the same thing here. So at the end of the day, Ramaphosa is he's just a mouthpiece. And what basically happens is the ANC is ruling this whole country.
Right. Now, you talked a moment ago about people who go around their daily lives as if everything is fine, there's nothing wrong, everything's cool. The naysayers, the people who says it'll never happen to me. Now, in your book, I think you talk about 3 different types of naysayer. Do you want to go into those 3 different types of people who just pretend that there's no problem?
Well, Scott, obviously, the first thing we've got is this ostrich syndrome.
Yeah.
With the people with their heads into the sand.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear. They don't want to listen. They don't want to do anything. It does not concern them, and that's a big problem for us. The second thing is the guy that turns his face away. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. Even if his neighbor got
ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance, yeah. And then the third one, that's obviously the worst one, is it always happened to somebody else. And I've got a big problem with that because the general knowledge of personal safety does not live there. If you understand it's not part of the mindset. And that's the biggest problem, and that's what I've been struggling through. Not just me, Fortis Proactive Defence Solution. I can give you a lot of companies that's been struggling with that for years, and that's just to get these people's mindsets right. But you always get these arguments. You always get this exactly what I've been telling you now. This attitudes, and people must start realizing, they're the first line of defense yourself. You're the first line of defense. If you don't change your attitude, you're obviously going to bleed. And we've seen it over and over and over again in this country.
Yeah. I had I have a very good friend of mine who I worked with in the bank at Barclays in KwaZulu-Natal. And when I was there in South Africa in 2011, I popped in to see him. And I was saying to him, Eddie, how's it going? And we're just chatting generally. I said, well, how are you coping with the crime rate and these carjackings that are taking place in South Africa? He said, oh, no, Scotty, don't worry about that. That's just, it doesn't happen. Anyway, the very next day, one of his colleagues who worked in the bank was shot dead in a carjacking. And he actually phoned me up in South Africa and he said, Scotty, you won't believe what just happened. And it took that incident to actually get him out of this sort of, it'll never happen, it won't happen. All of a sudden it was real. And I think what we're talking about here is a huge problem for a large percentage of the minority groups, and specifically the white people in South Africa, who think that it will never happen to them.
Scott, that's true. We're sitting with a mindset of ignorance, and people must they must start taking responsibility for themselves. It's as easy as that. I talk to a lot of people. I see a lot of things. There's a lot of incidents happening, whatever the case may be, and it happens every day. I don't think you want to sit in front of my computer every morning, but it's just the ignorance of people that is so unbelievable. And, we've been struggling with mindset, and we've been struggling. We've been trying to warn people. We give all this warnings out. Give all this precautions out, and there's just no insight. As I say, until something happens to them or somebody next to them. What's funny about that, it's only for that moment or for a short period of time. And then they settle back into their comfort zones. And that's just crazy. I can't understand it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. It's crazy. Um, now, one of the your book has got so many interesting facts and advice. I mean, it's really a Bible for someone who wants to make sure that they don't get attacked. Um, one of the things that you raised, which I found very interesting, is and it's people need to know how organized these criminal gangs are. I mean, they are so organized at every bloomin' level. You say here, for example, by the time you are burgled, a market for your goods already exists. They dispatch the loot very quickly and are paid in cash. The outlets are already in place. Tell us about that. I mean, people think, okay, they steal a TV, okay, now they're going to take it to a pawnbroker or something like that, but it doesn't happen that way. What actually happens?
Well, Scott, that's exactly my point. People think they get robbed, and then this guy that robs them takes this to his makuku or his shack or whatever the case may be for his girlfriend, and she's got a TV now. That's simply not the case. We're talking about organized crime here. Obviously, with the information that they gather beforehand, they know exactly what there is and what the value of your property is, what they're going to steal. There must be value in property. And then obviously, the buyers, illegal buyers, are there already. You must understand one thing: these criminals wants to rob and get rid of the stock as soon as possible and cash in their pockets. And that's part of the organized crime. If I can give you another example, we've got a situation in Sanin where they steal avocados on farms and nuts. These syndicates are so well organized that they hit a farm tonight. The things get packed, they get transported, and you get to buy them on Johannesburg fruit market the next morning. And this is how the syndicates operate. These people are well organized and well informed.
Right. Now, okay, now you give a lot of examples or tell us about how huge this crime industry is. And for example, you say the ramifications of defending yourself mean that you've got to have security fences, you've got to have security guards driving past, keeping an eye on your house. It's a huge industry resulting from defending yourself against crime. Tell us about that. How much money does this bring the government?
Well, Scott, what I'm referring to there is your personal safety. So the first thing is you must get involved in groups or organizations near you,
right,
that can assist you as soon as you get attacked, whatever the case may be. You must remember one thing: is your nearest help is the person closest to you. And then obviously, the police and all these things, they work reactive. That means they only rocks up at your place after the crime has been committed. Yeah.
Okay, now something we talked about just a little bit earlier to do with the farm attacks is a lot of these thugs who come to a farm to try and gain entry to the farmhouse are very, they've got very strong beliefs in witchcraft and all that sort of stuff. Now, wouldn't a really simple deterrent be to have like I think a monkey skull is a very it's like it's like an evil omen to these gangsters. If you had like a monkey skull that you just put out at night in front of your door and you had the light on, would that deter them at all? Is their belief system so that they would be deterred by that?
Scott, no, I know exactly what you're saying, yeah, but we haven't had anything seen that deters these people from farm attacks or breaking in like that. You know, you working on the religion or religious insight, but you know, these thugs have got a mission, they've got a task, and you know, they do what they have to do. Maybe in some cases it might have worked, not that I really know of. No.
Right. Okay. So there's nothing that's going to deter them once they've actually decided they're going to attack a particular farm or a particular house.
Scott, no, not really. The only thing is, you know, we try to. Yeah, this is a very difficult answer. So we try to warn the farmers. We try to make them alert. We try to help them to see certain things. We try to give them advice. You know, like don't stop before a closed gate. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't leave your doors open. Whatever the case may be, you know, farmers must really take responsibility for their own safety. You know, a simple thing is just like carrying a firearm. You know, a firearm in a safe is as good as you haven't got a firearm.
Well, it's actually worse because if they break in and they force you to open your safe, they're going to take your firearm.
Yeah, exactly my point. The thing is just you must have the tool and know how to use it. You know, and always be alert. We had two incidents here where in Tweespruit omgewing vicinity where farm attacks were discouraged, and we actually shot the people, but both of them was actually luck. You know, because the farmers didn't have their weapons with them, but within the situation that happens, the first one, the guy got grabbed outside, and they locked him into his own room. Luckily, his firearm was under his cushion. You know, if they didn't lock him, they could have locked him in any room.
Right.
And then the situation would have been completely different, but you know, at the end of the day, he shot them. So he was lucky he got locked in there. The other incident, the same thing, the guy from outside was taken to the home, and his shotgun was standing behind the door that they didn't see.
Right.
You know, and he was able to protect himself. You know, that was just luck. And that's a difference between staying alert, keeping your firearm next to you and know how to use it, rather than relying on not really relying is not the right word, but I mean on a luck situation.
Right. Now, I had a lady on about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, who brought out the system that's now used in Hout Bay. There's 7,000 people in Hout Bay and growing who now use the system. And what it is it's like a panic alarm, but instead of actually calling a security service or something like that, people within a certain radius of you who are on the app get an alert and get told exactly where the incident is happening. And in Hout Bay, I believe that used to be one of the worst places in South Africa with crime. And this year, they've only had 2 home invasions, and both times all the people who were involved have been apprehended. So that simple little buzzer app has just completely cleaned up the whole of Hout Bay. What are your views about something like that for a farmer? Because the farmer would have farm workers who've got a phone. He would have a phone. if they use them as a cluster, almost like a neighborhood watch. So if something happens to the farmer or one of the farm workers gets attacked, all he has to do is press that little button, and everybody on that farm will know exactly where the incident's happening. And you can imagine the response, well, how the thugs would back off if they suddenly see 30, 40 people coming to where they are.
Well, Scott, obviously that's a good one. For a close vicinity to have an app available, to get the people closest to you there as soon as possible. That's good. I've personally got an app. It's called Trackbox. We're sitting with a operation room that's in Johannesburg, and the app works countrywide or throughout the whole South Africa. Exactly the same on a panic button system. So what happens if anything happens? You push the panic button. They obviously got your GPS location immediately.
Right.
And these people are linked with a lot of groups, not groups, emergency personnel, from police right through ambulances, security watches, farm watches, whatever it may be. And then, as soon as you are in a situation, they can deploy this emergency staff immediately. That works quite well, yeah.
Right. But let's face it, living in South Africa today, especially if you're in a white suburb, it's like being in a war zone, isn't it?
Scott, things have changed. We almost realize this. And there's one thing I always say is, adapt or die. Obviously, it's not the ideal situation. And then nobody of us, I think, wants to be but with everything going on around us and the crime escalating at enormous tempo, you must start thinking about your own safety. So as I say, not an ideal situation. Not nice, it gets scary. It really gets scary. You can't move, you can't drive, you can't go anywhere. You go to the shopping center. Not really that you can't, but I mean the danger is always there that you can get hurt somewhere. That's not fun, so situational awareness, definitely. People must start wake up, definitely. You must arm yourself with something, definitely. You must take other precautionary measures with your children, or whatever the case may be, definitely. So the whole situation is changing. In the sense that we don't have this relaxing freedom anymore that we used to.
Right.
We have to start taking notice of things.
Now, one of the aspects of your book that you've brought out, and again, just for people who are watching, the link to Gerhard's book is below this video in the description. And he's got a special price on it for people who order through this program or this live stream. Do you just want to talk about that, Gerhard, about your book, how much you're offering it for people who hear about it through this program? And I guess what they do is just say, I was watching Loving Life and I'd like to order 3 copies of your book or whatever it might be. Just take us through the special price that you're offering people who order as a result of this program or this live stream, and the normal price, and just tell people how they can order it.
Well, Scott, thank you. As I said earlier, I've got to people to uitgewers. I don't know what the English is. Sorry.
Editions. You got an English and an Afrikaans.
Yeah, but so that sells a book for 330 rand. What I did with this program, Scott, I created a Facebook group called Sales at Waaksaam Alert South Africa. Manual 1, handleiding 1. I sent you the link, and I decided to give it all the people that is watching this program for a special price of 175 rand. So all the people needs to do is just join the group, and all the information about the book is on there, and also the payment details and whatever the case may be.
Right. Okay. And now you call this volume 1, don't you? I think it is. Do you have another book that you're bringing out?
Scott, yeah. What I did is I called this volume 1 because of the fact that the situation is always changing,
Right.
especially in the country with the politics, with the stats, and with the crime. So I started with volume 1. I wrote the book in 2018. From the stats, the stats have not really changed so much, maybe with a percentage here or there, or whatever the case may be. But I'm busy working on volume 2 because of the political situation that's always also changed. So you always have to upgrade. What I'm doing.
Update the information.
It can't become static.
Right.
Crime is not static. Yeah.
Now, look, one thing we haven't talked about, which you cover in the book, is the legal side of things. And I guess the one area that concerns me, and perhaps you can tell me how people are best able to handle this, is that in the last year, a couple of farmers who've actually had the thugs in their houses threatening them have actually shot them and killed them, and they are now facing murder charges. What is the legal situation around that?
Scott, that's an interesting question. You must remember, or the people must remember one thing. As soon as there's self-defense, we work on the principle of self-defense. But as soon as there has been an action in the sense of somebody has been shot or somebody kills, the first thing has to happen, there must be a docket open and a case number given at the police. That is standard procedure. So people must not get confused with that. You mentioned that farmers are now being charged for murder. That's simply not the case. If you shoot somebody, the docket that's been open is murder. That's the docket. And through investigation, will determine what the outcome of that will be.
Now,
do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now, let me give you two different hypothetical scenarios, okay? One,
Yes.
I'm a farmer. I've got a revolver in my hand. 3 or 2 guys are approaching me. In the first scenario, they've got guns, okay, and they're threatening me with the guns. In the second scenario, they've just got a knife and they're still threatening me. Is there a difference legally if I shoot them dead?
Scott, you must remember one thing. The law on self-defense is very clear. It is very clear. And it states you are allowed to protect yourself in any situation that threatens your life, the life of somebody else, or property. So if you are in a situation where your life is not threatened, even if somebody is carrying a gun, you can't simply shoot. It's a very, very fine line there. If a guy is standing with his weapon next to him in his hand, with a barrel pointing to the ground, no go. As soon as he lifts his hand, you can shoot him.
Even if he's in your house?
Yeah, if he's in your house, there's another law we've got, and that's where your action is taken in a situation of emergency. We call it noodweer, yeah. This is an Afrikaans word. And if you find him in your house, you can shoot him.
So, just to be totally clear, if you're out in your yard and these thugs come into your yard, but they're not pointing the gun at you, even though they're on your property, you can't shoot them.
No, you can't.
Okay.
No.
But if you're in your house and they break into your house and they've still got the guns pointing at the ground, that's a different setup. You can then shoot them.
What the argument is, Scott, is they say your house is your domain and it's your nest.
Right.
The person or the perpetrator is not supposed to be in there. And according to all my knowledge and what I've researched and the law that I researched about it, you're allowed to shoot him even if he is unarmed.
So just by him being inside the house, that is then reason enough you can actually shoot the guy dead.
Yes, obviously you can.
Okay.
Obviously you can. It's a very delicate discussion. We can talk about hours about this, but for me personally, if I find somebody in my house, I'll take him out. That's it. The story, he's not supposed to be there. He didn't come to drink tea. Whatever the case may be, he was not invited. And for me to determine if the perpetrator is there for whatever reason is not it's not my prerogative. If I find him in my house, I'll shoot him. That's it.
Okay. Now, you cover this subject in your book, the legal aspects of different things, don't you?
Yes, in detail. Yeah.
In detail, right. Okay. So, guys, if you're concerned about the legal aspect of various scenarios, that's also covered in Gerhard's book. Now, I just want to address, we got well over 200 people watching right now. Please remember to subscribe to this channel to be kept informed. We have live streams most nights at 8 p.m. And if you want to order Gerhard's book, the link is in the description below this video. And do they have to join the website, or can they just request a copy of buying a copy of the book?
No, Scott, what they must do is they must go on the group, and there I've got all the detail for them.
Okay, so it's a private group they have to join.
Yeah, it's a total private group. You won't even get the link on Facebook. It's a private group. So, but they can join on this link, and then from there I will give all the instructions, the payment detail, whatever the case may be. Yes.
Right. Okay. And I guess when they apply to join, they should put in their Loving Life live stream, because then they can get that discount for the book as well.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yes, of course. I just want to mention one thing. The book is an e-book, and I made it very easy. As soon as I get your payment, you give me your email address and I send it to you, and it's available. That's it.
And it's fully searchable, so you can search for different things.
Yes, of course.
Okay, now, in your notes that you sent me, and this is something that I really find very disturbing, is that crime generates millions and millions of rands for the South African government. And then you give an example where take just 1 million homeowners in Gauteng who pay for armed crime reaction, not crime prevention, where private security companies react after the crime has taken place. No wonder they never make any arrests. This service costs on average 250 Rand per month Therefore, 1 million homes by 250 Rand per month by 12 months and 14% VAT. That generates over 400 million Rand in tax revenue for the South African government. That's extraordinary, isn't it?
Scott, yeah, you must see the picture behind this picture here. You know, and I've been looking at the ANC way of thinking and the government's way of thinking, and you know, if I look at that message that you just read, everything starts making sense. The police uninvolvement, the government's not prepared to get involved. You know, somewhere between the lines, all these people are just disappearing.
Yeah.
The government's disappearing. The police are disappearing. You know, we came from a situation in the old South Africa where we could rely on the government, rely on the police for protection, whatever the case may be. But suddenly we don't see that anymore. You know, they're uninvolved. They don't care. And then you know, if you look at what I wrote there, somehow between the lines, things are beginning to make sense for me.
Right. I'm sorry. I'm just got a message that the links aren't working for the Facebook, so I'm just going to put those links back in again. Give me a second. Okay, there we go. Save. Okay. All right. Are you there?
I'm there. I'm here.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, Marlena, can someone please check? I've just put the links back in. I'm obviously busy in the discussion here, but I've just dropped those links back in. There's Waaksaam Alert, there's Real Life 24/7, and Self Defense Live. They should all now be below the video. If someone could just please check to see if they work, that'd really be appreciated.
Just the books link as well.
Yeah. I've got 3 links. I've got Self Defense Live, Real Life 24/7, and Waaksaam Alert. Which is the one they should use for the book?
Yeah, Scott, you quick on me now. That's the last one I sent it to. That's the last one I sent it to.
Actually, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to give you Gerhard's email address and his cell phone number. So I'm going to put that just to cut through the other side. Are you happy for me to do that, Gerhard?
Yeah, I'm happy.
Okay,
Scott,
so I'm going to put your email address and the cell phone number, and that way people can contact you that way. Okay, I'm just adding those in. Okay, so we've now got the cell number. Okay, I'm just going to save that. There you go. I'm sure they'll be able to work it out from there. All right. Now, is there anything you'd like to just add to the discussion we've had, Gerhard? A message you'd like to give people who are watching the video right now?
Well, Scott, there is one thing that I would like to mention specifically on writing the book. You know, people must really start to wake up in South Africa. We've got too much people still living in their comfort zones, you know, and people get hurt. We see these ladies still jogging alone. We see these children still doing this and that. We're seeing this, and whatever the case may be, people must start looking after themselves and their own safety. Nobody's going to do it for you. The police is not going to do it for you.
You're on your own.
Your security companies is not going to do it for you. Your government is not going to do it for you. You are the first line of defense. So if you don't start focusing on your own safety, we really gonna see a lot more. And I'm sorry for my words. But this is reality, Scott.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a lot of blood still flowing in South Africa.
Well, I think what's going to exacerbate the situation, Gerhard, is the fact that because of the lockdown, there's so much more unemployment. There are going to be so many more starving people, and they're going to be desperate, and there are going to be a lot more break-ins. I mean, it's just logical.
Well, Scott, I'm waiting for the afterburn, if you can say it like that, the afterburn of this lockdown. We haven't really seen that yet. We have seen crime escalating these last couple of weeks at a phenomenal tempo. But things are getting worse. There's a lot of unemployment. And unemployment is directly linked to crime. If I had to go back tonight and I can't feed my family, what's the next option? I can't get work, So we haven't seen the pit of the iceberg. What this crime situation is going to be coming, and I believe it's bad news. Right. I don't see any solution either. The government's not going to give a solution. Yeah, they bankrupt. But surely, crime is going to burst out of its socket. Yeah.
Right. Now, interesting, because Andreas Beermont has just typed, I have had 10 mugging attempts on me in the city. I walk, no car. I have seen things. And I guess that's pretty much par for the course. Okay, I've got a couple of questions that people have posed. Wolfie says, please ask the UM that if someone breaks into my property or home, if I'm allowed to shoot him with a compound hunting bow. I guess she's got a compound hunting bow.
What's interesting here. I want to answer this question, and I'm going back to the law of self-defense. You are allowed to protect yourself with any means necessary. So whether you shoot a guy, throw him with a brick, shoot him with a bow, hit him with a pick steel or a baseball bat, whatever the case may be, you are allowed to do that. So there's no specific weapon that's been prescribed. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Next question is from Keith Alderson. He says, that was just to let you know the book link is not working. I think we fixed that now, guys. If someone could just check the links below the video and just confirm they're working, that would really be appreciated. And I've got Gerhard's cell phone number and his email address there, so you can always use those. Okay, now Sue Vickerman. This is totally unrelated, Gerhard, but it's part of my Loving Life family. They say, Sue says, I'm so glad that Winston now has bookings, but I miss seeing and hearing him on here. Is it not possible that he can come on now and again during the week? Well, Sue, that's exactly what Marlene is planning. We're looking at bringing Winston on probably on a Wednesday night at 8 p.m. and having a jamming session on a night when he's not actually working. And we're all so happy that he's now got work because we're down to level 1. So congrats to Winston on that. All right, now we've basically covered everything in the book. The one side we really just touched on, but there is something that I really wanted to talk to you about, and that is the hand signals and the types of they've got their own language, haven't they, when it comes to like leaving things on your gate and stuff like that, which you don't even notice are there, or a Coke bottle outside your gate which represents something to the gangs. Tell us about that. What should people watch out for?
Scott, yes. It's called Africa Signs. It's an African language. It has been in Africa for years. You must remember these people didn't write like we used to learn to write, or whatever the case may be. So they used objects and whatever the case may be to do their writing with. And then obviously they it's been used all the years along, to show them certain identifications like hunting, whatever the case may be. All these things got integrated in the crime situation now. So obviously there's a lot of packages, that's a lot of colors, there's a lot of signs, a lot of, what that means something, that these people use in sequences for attacks, especially on farms or even in cities as well. The informants usually on the farm attacks do the observation, whatever the case may be, and then they pack out the African signs for the heat squads to work on. So obviously it's a very intense type of way of doing it that we don't really understand. The guy that's a specialist on this phenomena is Lucas Swart from AXCA, Swartberg Intelligence. And I think if anybody wants to know anything more about African science, they must contact Lucas himself.
Right. Okay. Now, I'm going to wrap up the live stream very shortly, guys. Please have a safe evening, and I hope you've enjoyed this discussion as much as I have. Gerhard's links for his book are below the video, so please make sure that you have a look at that, and if you feel you need more information, order his book. You can get it in electronic form, which means all it requires is you to pay the money, then he'll send you an email with the book attached, and obviously that's fully searchable, which is very, very usable. I just want to thank the moderators for the handling the side chat. Thanks, guys. You always do a great job. And for those people who have been watching, thank you for joining us tonight. And tomorrow night we'll be having another live stream, which I think you'll find very, very interesting. I'll put details up later on today or tomorrow morning your time. I just want to thank our guest Gerhard for joining us tonight and for sharing with us his knowledge. And thank you very much, Gerhard. It's been very good listening to you.
Thanks for having me, Scott. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Gerhard. Okay, guys, I'm going to shut down the live stream now. Please take care. I'll leave the side chat open for a few minutes so you can say your goodbyes, and catch up with you again very soon. Bye for now.